You're listening to a Leisure Moment podcast with your host, Deetra Helvey, who's always ready to have a casual conversation about her love for literature.
So here's the moment that many of us were waiting for, the release of our casual conversation with author Anna Todd. Anna is the author of the ever so popular After series, published by Gallery Books. As readers go through a mega roller coaster experience of the relationship between Hardin and Tessa, you really can't stop reading. It's never too late to get started on this series. Listen as Once Upon a Twilight and A Leisure Moment team up to bring you all the awesome happenings of the Anna Todd. Enjoy! Hello, Anna.
Hey, how are you?
Doing awesome. This is Deetra Helvey, and we have Yara Santos with Once Upon a Twilight.
Hey, Anna.
So glad that you can join us.
Me too. I'm excited.
Wonderful. Well, we are just so honored to have you. I'm teaming up with my longtime friend Yara and creator of the amazing blog Once Upon a Twilight, and having this casual conversation with the fabulous Anna Todd, author of the After series, where book 4, After Ever Happy, will release in the later part of February. So tell us, Yara, I'm a little jealous. You have met Anna before.
Yes, I was very lucky to have, after her signing here in Houston, we went to dinner. It was Anna and also Christina and Lauren from the duo Christina and Lauren. And it was just nice. It was nice to, be outside of the bookstore and actually just have normal conversation.
Well, you know what, and Anna, I'll tell you, you are just very popular on Twitter, and we've given our readers an opportunity to submit some questions, and I just think we just need to get started. Tell us how you came up with the idea of the After series.
Well, it was a mixture of a few things. I loved reading fan fiction, particularly One Direction fan fiction. And at the time, there were all of these edits that people were making with tattoos, with all the boys with tattoos. So when I went to write a One Direction fan fiction that day, I decided the same day I posted it, just because the stories that I were reading weren't updating. And so I thought, okay, I'll just write something, to entertain myself for this day. I didn't think that it would end up being 300 chapters or published or any of this crazy stuff. But I just thought, Harry would be the main character, and then I would add tattoos, and then it just kind of went from there.
Cool. Well, and I'll say that this question is from Charlene, one of your followers. How did you come up with the idea of One Direction to really turn it into your world? Now, you talked a little bit about Harry. Why the change in name from Harry to Hardin?
Well, to publish a fan fiction, I think, is a little different than to write one. We'll publish one with the actual name. After isn't a biography of Harry Styles, so definitely wanted to change the name. And then the name Hardin just kind of came from, I wanted it to be somewhat similar so we could keep the Hessa thing with Hardin and Tessa. But it's hard to choose an H name.
Right,
I bet it was.
Yeah, it was hard.
Well, and I think that Yara and I have also read that you kind of started off writing your story on your iPhone.
Yeah,
or maybe not so much an iPhone, but a smartphone.
Yeah, well, when I first started it, I had a Galaxy, but then as Twitter and Instagram and Wattpad kept growing, my phone kept crashing. So no offense to Samsung, but the iPhone was more equipped for my needs. But I don't know the exact percentage. I don't think we could even figure that out. We've been trying, but I think it's about 30 to 40% of After was written on my phone.
That is excellent. That is excellent that you were able to do that off of your phone. Because I remember when the whole fan fiction got really popular with when it was the Twilight era. We were reading off our phones because it wasn't like easy to read off the computer. So we're on and it was my BlackBerry. I remember it was an old BlackBerry. Hardest thing ever to read off the phone. So for you to write on your phone, kudos to that.
Oh, I know. Such the non-traditional route of writing, but look where it has led you. And kind of brings us into the impact of, I know that you're with Gallery Books, but you started with Wattpad. And, I'm not embarrassed to say, but that was the first time I'd ever heard of Wattpad when I read after your first book, After. And I saw Wattpad. I'm like, what is Wattpad? So tell us a little bit about how you got connected with Wattpad.
Okay, well, I was reading Imagines, which are small, tiny little fan fictions written on Instagram, and they were One Direction Imagines, and that's where the Imaginator 1D thing came from, because I thought, these little mini stories are so cute, I'll write them, and mine were terrible and totally embarrassing. But one of the ones that I was reading that I loved so much, she kept going and going, and it got longer and longer, and one day she posted that she was going to put it on Wattpad, and I'm like, what in the hell is a Wattpad?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to go there because for some reason I thought reading on Instagram was so easy when it's not at all. And I thought, I don't want to go on some random website. But then once I clicked on it, it only took me about an hour to actually go on there. But once I clicked on it, it was this whole world of anything you can ever imagine is on Wattpad. And so I just randomly found it by reading.
I'm like Deetra, I wasn't familiar with it as well because the fan fiction I did read before in the past was off of fanfiction.net and never heard of Wattpad.
Right. I remember that too, Yara. I remember that the fanfiction.net as well. Let's look at another question that we have here. This is from Leanne. So we're getting ready to start talking about the After series, and Leanne asks, "Hi, Anna. My question is, which one of the books were the most difficult to write or the hardest to come up with ideas to write about?" Well, first, before you even answer that, Anna, I want to tell listeners that your books are huge. They are massive. They are never ending. I mean, it is just amazing the amount of detail that you have. So maybe this would be a good time for us to talk about your main characters.
Okay. Well, let's see. To answer her question first, I don't know. There were times in the first book I think was the hardest to write because I didn't know how to write and I didn't know the characters really. I didn't know who I wanted them to be or what they were going to do. So I think sometimes I was lost. And I think you can tell in the first one especially that there were parts where I'm like, where am I going with this? What is happening? What are they doing? And so I think the first one was hard. But once I got towards the end of the second one, it all just kind of stuck, which is still a long time. But it all came really like to how I wanted to write. So the third book, I think, is when I really found, which is probably why it's about 5 times longer than the first book, is when I really found like my voice in writing and who the characters were and what they wanted, and it just felt like it clicked then.
Pretty cool. Well, let's see here. It's quite hard. This is from Rose, and I'm going to have to agree with her on this one. It's quite hard to think of a dramatic scene in every chapter that you write. So how did you manage to sustain a dramatic scene in every chapter?
Well, the characters are very dramatic, ridiculous people, so they made it kind of easy because they both just do really stupid things all the time. So in a way it was kind of easy, but especially on Wattpad, because if you are writing a chapter and nothing happens, why would someone come back to click on the next chapter? So you almost have to have something in every chapter on a platform like Wattpad.
Right.
It's like a television show. If you have an entire hour of television where nothing happens, why would you watch it next week?
Okay.
Right. Yeah, because that's how fan fiction works. You wanted to keep your reader coming back every chapter, which was, I'm not sure how you did it when you did yours, but it was like a weekly thing. So you wanted to make sure you left them on a good note for them to come back for the next update. Like dying for that next update.
And even with mine, most of it was written every day. So if I needed people to pay attention to me every single day, they had to be engaged in it. Otherwise, there's no way someone's going to spend time every day reading it.
Right. Okay. Well, that answers that question beautifully. I never really thought about that. Well,
No,
sorry. Go ahead.
Let me ask back to the books, the thickness of these books. The way that they were cut once they've been now the published copies, are these the exact places that you finished each, after 1, after 2, and after 3 online? Or is this something that between you and Gallery Books was decided this is where we're going to cut book 1, book 2, book 3, and so on?
It was decided between Adam and I because the first, none of them end where they do on Wattpad. The first book, maybe the second one kind of does, the closer than the rest. But when I ended after 1 on Wattpad, I didn't even know that I had to end it. I didn't know that you could only write 100 chapters in each book. So then I went to add the next chapter after the revealing of the first book, what happened in the published version. That was the part of that. Are we allowed to say spoilers here or no?
Well,
probably not into book 3. I mean, book 4, since it's technically.
You go right ahead, Anna.
Okay, it's only a spoiler from the first book.
Okay.
So the reveal of the bet, whenever that's revealed, the first book just ends there. And so then I went to, or actually it's not even there. It's like when Tessa is getting ready to leave the apartment, it just ends.
Okay.
And I went to post the next chapter, and it wouldn't let me. And I was like, what in the world? So I submitted a ticket, and then Wattpad said, oh, you can't have more than 100 chapters. I was like, oh, okay. So then that's why it got split there on Wattpad. And then, so for the structurized book, the published version, it made more sense to have it revealed and then have a little bit of like what's happening while it's revealed and then end it.
Okay.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yes, it does. And so if I understand correctly, book 4 is just brand new to all of your readers?
Not the entire thing, no. It's mostly the end.
Okay.
After 3, even after cutting a lot of it,
Mm-hmm.
was still really, really long. So, well, I wouldn't say we cut a lot, but we cut a lot more from after 3 than any of the other books.
Mm-hmm.
And we still had to split it into 2 books. Adam was like, it's hard to get a book that's nearly 1,000 pages for people to read, let alone a book that's about after 3 and, well, the whole thing of after 3 would have been around 1,500 pages.
Goodness.
Yeah. So he said, let's do 4 books. And that was even after the contract, everything. That wasn't until we were on editing the second book when he was like, wow, I didn't even realize how long this was, which I didn't either. So most of it is already read, but there are a lot more changes in the 3rd and 4th, more particularly the 4th book. From the Wattpad version, and then the entire ending is totally new. No, I do. He's amazing. He's very amazing.
Yes, it's on the exact same day, so that is the best birthday present ever.
So everybody is going to be so excited to get their hands on book 4. And, we are so talking about over at Once Upon a Twilight book 1 as well, because, there are some readers who still amazingly have not heard of Anna, and we are trying to spread the word. And when we think about the readers, you have just millions and billions of reads, especially online. How can you stay connected with your followers? I mean, you're on Twitter all the time, and I'm pretty sure it's you. It's not like there's someone else doing it for you. How do you do it?
I don't know. It's just very important to me. I feel like it's just a part of my day. and I don't really think about how often I'm on until someone says, like, you know, you're on Twitter all the time. And even when I was just overseas, I don't even want to know what my data plan looks like for that month. But if I'm not on Twitter for, 2 hours, it's like, Anna, where are you? Anna, where are you? So I don't know. We just have a connection. It just feels like, how you would maybe, call your best friend or,
right.
talk to your friends in person. Mine just happened to be online. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like it's very, very important for me to talk to them. And, I depend on them and they depend on me. And I think that it just, I don't know, it just isn't like a task. It's like a fun thing that I like to do. And I feel weird if I don't talk to them, even though there's a lot of them. So I wish I could talk to them more, but I think
about 200,000. I think you're at 220,000 followers. So that's a lot of people.
It is. Yeah. It is. And you mentioned being out of the country last week. I think you were in Madrid.
Yeah, I went to Paris and then Madrid and then Barcelona.
Yeah, so we were following you. You were showing us pictures. It was if we were there, and you have a huge following internationally as well. You know what, Yara? I think we have another question. Did our Bree have a question?
Yes, from our team. Now, mind you, we have our own little private chat that, because I talk to the team through GroupMe, but we've also created now a separate one just to talk about your books. So every time one of us catches up with the other one, we add them to the chat. And this is just, we don't stop. It's all day, constantly, this and that. If you could read what we have said, at times you might like us, at times you might hate us, then love us again. But mostly it's Hardin. Hardin gets all the conversation.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
So Bree this week told me that she wanted me to ask you. She goes, how can you handle writing this push-pull relationship? I love it so much, but does it take a toll? So I can't imagine how it does take a toll. So how do you feel when writing it? Because it's true. That is the one thing we talk about. The one moment we are literally hating on them, or we are just devoted, loving them, and they're the best friends, and then we'll be back to that moment. So that's what Bree and a few of us on the team wanted to know.
Yeah, it definitely does take a toll on me writing it, even going back and editing it, but especially when I was writing it originally, because I didn't have a massive plan for the book, so I felt like a reader. So I was writing it, but I wanted to know what was going to happen and what they were going to do. And so it was really stressful, and there were times where it would literally, ruin my entire day because I would write a chapter where they're just at each other's throat, or Hardin was just a complete, Hardin, or Tessa was immature and crazy. And so it did take a toll on me, and there were times when my husband would be like, are you okay? And I'm just like, Dad, or, and there were some scenes, like more of them are in the fourth book now, but in the third online, that I literally would just be like crying, and I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? Because I have like a choice, but I just kept doing it, and I'm like, but afterward I was very happy with it. But there were a lot of things that it was emotional, and then there were some things that connect to my own self. So one of the things I did in the fourth book, fourth published book, was like a therapeutic thing for me. I can't say what it is because it's a huge spoiler, but after that one was really like hard. But it was all worth it, but it did take a toll on me. There were days where it just affected my entire day.
Well, I know that this is going to come out on the day that book 4 does release, so I am able to speak about it. I won't give away spoilers because I am about 100 pages at the time that we record this to finish book 4. And I have been in such an emotional roller coaster, and the fact that I have no one to chit-chat with. And
she doesn't, Anna.
Because I won't spoil it. I won't. The girls know I'm suffering because they've gotten a lot of little characters from me. That's all they're getting. But, wow. And I went on Twitter about this. There has only been, I'm not a book crier. I'm a visual. The book, once it's an adaptation, I will bawl my eyes out from the same thing that didn't make me cry when I read it. But there has been only one book to today that I had cried about, and it was Molly McAdams' Taking Chances. Now, you have you were sitting next to her. There is a scene in the middle of the book, I want to say of book 4, that just broke me down. And it might be exactly what you're talking about. Not sure, but oh my goodness, it connected and like, oh, and I hate that I can't talk to anybody about it.
I know.
Yeah, and she can't because I'm looking at book 4, but I'm not quite finished with book 3. But I was talking to Yara earlier, and I just happened to open book 4. You know how you just flip through pages.
Yeah.
You just open the book, and it just falls flat on a certain chapter. I look at the first sentence, and I immediately close it up. Yara's like, "What page were you on? What page were you on?" And so now I think I need to, miss a few days of work so I can catch up on my after reading.
She opened it. She opened the wrong page. Because now she's like, what did I just see? I was like, oh, yeah, no.
But Anna, it's when Yara talks about that emotion that sticks with us, that's great writing.
Yeah.
It's just
Absolutely.
what really pulls at us, at the reader, and for you as a writer, the toll that it must take on you to produce such great pieces for your followers.
Thank you. That's what my favorite thing, I think, like regardless of what anyone says about my books or if they like them, don't like them, whatever, I make people feel all kinds of things that I have never felt in my life, and except for writing these and reading one other book that I did not write. So I love hearing whenever people feel it because, that's the best part of reading, I think.
And honestly, book out of all the books, book 1 is what got me. It hook, line, and sinker. I did not read it online. I honestly, until the publisher contacted me, I didn't know much about the series. And book 1, it was just an immediate connection. But now that I'm all the way into book 4, I think that is the book that is just going to blow everybody's mind. Like, it's epic. It's amazing. And it's as good as After, but it's just something else. And I just can't wait for everybody to get to that book because it's, and a lot of tissue. They're going to need a lot of tissue. A lot of chocolate because I've been binging on chocolate. I'm not going to lie.
So, Anna, tell us for the book After, do I hear some movie discussion?
Yes, Paramount optioned the film, which is amazing.
Congratulations.
And thank you. I don't know. I think it's going to be like the book. I knew I had a book coming, and I edited it and looked at the cover and was doing promo, but I didn't quite get that I had a book until I saw it in the store. So I think it might be the same thing. Like, it's awesome, but I can't really connect it. Like, it's just not connecting with me right now for some reason. So I'm excited, but it doesn't feel like it's actually a thing. So it's just weird.
No, and what's your, can you talk about the latest advance in that, or are we still kind of in the beginning process?
When does this come out?
This will be on Yara's birthday, February
on
the 24th.
When the book releases.
So I can say, I'm trying to think, I think I can say that we have a screenwriter. I think I can say that.
Okay. Well,
excellent.
And
so
as
still in the beginning.
Okay, well, awesome. Now, you're still active with your writing piece, and we just noticed that you are kind of doing a project with Project Almanac on Wattpad.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about this because it's kind of ongoing as well.
Yeah, this has been really cool because, for one, it's just an awesome idea for Wattpad to have all these branded stories, and companies are now coming to Wattpad to pay their top writers to write content, basically branded. So some of them didn't quite fit with me, and I don't want to do things that aren't like true to me. But Paramount obviously is like true to me, and the content of the movie is sort of like the chaos theory type, like butterfly effect thing, where if you change one thing, what would the outcome be? And since I did my senior project on the chaos theory, going way back now, I love the idea of this, and I love the idea of if one simple thing changed in After, what would happen. So that was basically the idea there. It's only 4 parts, so the last part comes out in a few days. But they, Paramount paid me and other people to write our own twists on our own stories, which has been fun but also stressful because I can't stand the idea of Tessa not having Landon as a friend or knowing Hardin. It was stressful. But it was fun to do. It was really fun to do. And with Before on Wattpad, which is basically the first book from Hardin's point of view, I don't get to really be creative because everything has already happened. So with Project Almanac, with this Never thing, I could be much more creative and do something weird, but fun.
Well, I haven't touched it yet. I've got to wait until I finish with your book 4, and then I'll treat myself to your next new reading project. But we'll make sure that we put a link as well, so everybody will know how to get to that as well. Well, Yara, do you have any final thoughts?
Just what's next? Because we've been now in this little world, this little bubble of after, and I don't know if I'm ready to let it go yet after book 4. Like, is there a future, or what's just next? Like, what's next on your plate?
Yeah, there's actually a couple things. The next thing related to after would be a Landon's story, because even before I had a publishing deal, I said I was going to do that. And I love him. Like, he is besides Hardin and Tessa, he's my favorite character. And my readers, before I ever had the publishing deal, kept saying, we want a Landon story. So I'm doing, it's much shorter than after, but I'm doing that. And then maybe by the time this is on, there'll be publishing news for that. And then I'm writing a story with an LGBT anti-bullying charity that has 2 characters from After 3, or After We Fell, Riley and Lillian. It's just a short story about them. I'm not even sure where it's going yet, but I love that charity and I love the idea of it. And then I am doing something else that's not really related to After, but kind of is, but I can't talk about it.
Okay.
And what is the other thing? There's one more thing I'm forgetting. Oh, and then lately, just for fun, I've been doing 50 Shades of Grey Imagines because they're fun. And I put them
that I've been seeing on Twitter.
Yeah.
But, that is exciting Landon. Oh, love Landon.
He is a wonderful minor character. He is awesome.
Yeah. I love him.
I think his character, because we're not blind to see certain things on Twitter and Facebook, and we know not everybody's going to like or agree with certain aspects of this series. But I think Landon brings such a good positive balance to the series in whole that it kind of like, you can turn your head a little and ignore certain things because Landon is that positive. He's the good. So, that's exciting.
Him.
I agree. Well, I must say, Anna, Yara and I are just so excited that Kristen was able to get us connected with you so that we could have this casual conversation for your readers, for your future readers, so they can find out all about the After series. And just thank you for spending time with us this afternoon.
Thank you.
Yes, it was great.
Great. Thanks so much for joining Once Upon a Twilight and a Leisure Moment.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, if you enjoyed that episode, let us know on iTunes by giving us a great review. We want to thank all our listeners again. Check us out at aleisuremoment.com. Like us on Facebook and Twitter. Have a good one.